Hello, my better beings. It's been 5 months since I've made an update video tuning you guys in about my mental health and the subjects that I like to discuss on this channel, which include supplements and mental health topics, bipolar disorder, and those kind of things. So, first I'll give you a little update what's been happening with me in the last 5 months. I am still in the bipolar pattern. Generally speaking, I'll spend a few months in a hypomanic state, and currently my hypomanic state will manifest as having a decent amount of energy and a lot of goal-oriented and task-oriented type of behaviors. So basically it'll just mean getting my shit done, getting my work done a lot of the time. But the negative symptoms that go along with that let me know that that's actually a hypomanic episode and not just me being awesome at life, is things like memory loss, a lot of confusion, particularly confusion understanding how people, even the closest people to me, like my own kids, how they speak to me. So I'll be asking them, what did you say? Like a whole bunch of times, and they're just like, huh, Mom, I'm not really talking any different than I normally do, and it creates confusion, and it creates anxiety in the household, and it kind of sucks. It is something to do with a part of my brain working differently when I'm in these hypomanic states. I have more ability to find patterns and figure out complicated problems. So I'm better at certain kinds of work, but I'm worse at understanding speech patterns that are really very familiar speech patterns that I hear on a daily basis. So also, I'll have more difficulty understanding my husband's speech patterns. So it's helped that we've identified that this is my bipolar hypomania that's causing this confusion, and it's not me having any difficulties with hearing or comprehending, and it has absolutely no detrimental effects on my intelligence, but it's just this confusion with auditory input that's highlighted when I'm hypomanic. So you can imagine me struggling to understand my kids and my husband talk to me for months on end can be wearisome for everybody. I'll also tend to be more irritable and more sensitive to sounds and light. So for those of you that are new to the channel, I've been diagnosed with bipolar. That was about 10 years ago. And I maintain a wellness regimen that includes supplements and medications. I won't be going into any details about the psychiatrist and medication end of things, but I do offer advice, and sometimes will tell people about how I use supplements as an add-on adjunct to that treatment method. I would say that it's a really great benefit if you're struggling with mental health issues to have a psychiatrist who is open to alternative forms of treatment, as well as just the DSM's basic, what they throw at you. Because your diet, your lifestyle, the amount of sunlight you expose yourself to, the amount that you exercise, and the intensity and the type of exercise that you do, they all play a role in your mental health as well. So it's best to avoid psychiatrists that would just throw a pill at you and not look at the big picture at all. Looking at the big picture, for me, has helped me maintain a lot of control, where previously I wouldn't have had as much control. So something I want to talk about is my relationships with people in my life. They kind of suck. I suck at relationships with people. People have begun to treat me differently in the last few years of my life, probably since I've been diagnosed. And I don't necessarily feel any obligation to smooth out those differences or make it any easier for people. I think it gets exhausting enough just managing and coping with my mental illness and keeping my life sane and healthy and under control. And when I say under control, I mean not severely depressed to the point where I can't get out of bed, and not psychotic or high manic to the point where I'm unintelligible. So once I've made this effort, to keep myself balanced, there's not a lot of room left in my emotional space, I would say, to want to enhance relationships in my life. So I think I come across to people as haughty or cold or uninterested. And the thing is, I don't really care, and I don't really see it as a problem. So the only people in my life I would feel it's important to have close relationships with would be my husband and my kids. And I do tend to look at other relationships with a risk versus benefit analysis, which is not necessarily conducive to having close friendships, because I know how one could have a close friendship. It's just that I tend to not want to do that. Close friendships, people that have close friendships, people who are not me, who have close friendships, there has to be a level of vulnerability, and there has to be a mutual trust. So I have difficulty trusting people, and I do not like to be vulnerable in front of people either. So those barriers are in place. I like to think that I could change that, and I could remove that obstacle if I wanted to, but I don't know at this point if I could, because I've been carefully building these walls and obstacles piece by piece for so many years. Creating a persona, if you will. That persona interacts with people and does those jobs that I need while keeping myself very, very closely guarded and hidden. And, yeah. But why I'm talking about it is because the lack of closeness with people, eventually it does get to me and it does hurt me. And there's probably things I could do to help that, but that sounds like a lot of work. And frankly, I'm exhausted and really haven't quite enough work on my plate as it is. So let me know if any of you can relate to this feeling of hollowness and shallow, poor relationships with people, where you don't actually feel like you're close to someone. You just say the right words that you think they want to hear and keep things very surface level. So I am going to include a trigger warning because there will be a little discussion of suicidal thoughts and ideations in this video. So suicidal thoughts and ideations aren't necessarily, I'm coming up with a plan today, I am going to kill myself. They can be things like, I got angry at my husband, I feel like a failure, so I'm thinking about being dead or killing myself. They could be things like, my kids aren't doing well in school, so I feel like a failure, it's my fault, so I wish I was dead. It could also be things like, I wonder what it would be like to be dead, and being dead would sound awfully nice or something like that. I deal with these rather frequently, typically about every 2 or 3 months. And it doesn't mean anything more than the fact that they happen, I guess, because they're just thoughts that come up and then they go, and then they come up again and then they go. And I also have identified in myself through going to therapy that these thoughts are not me wanting to actually kill myself, they are me wanting to improve problems in my life and make positive changes, but feeling helpless and unable to do so. So something that goes along with that bothers me about my mind is how it goes from 0 to 100 so easily. What for normal people might just be a casual conversation, if I perceive that something in it is threatening to me, I can go from 0 to 100 very fast. I can accelerate negative thought patterns extremely fast. And I can also then come down from those negative thoughts, and that might all happen within the space of just 5 minutes or so. But something that I've experienced for my entire life is mind going from 0 to 100 and not having a sweet spot, a place in the middle where things are more neutral. It's this really just black and white, all or nothing kind of thinking that's so detrimental. And I've been working in therapy to try to overcome that. My supplements the routine I take is still very similar to what I described in my last video about supplements. Let me know if you guys want any more info about my current supplement regimen. The Trump tariffs actually made it so that one of my lithium supplements was going to take longer to come in, so I could pre-order it, I could pay for it, but then it was going to take 2 to 3 months to come in. So I don't know where they're mining that lithium from, but it might be China or Brazil. But the Trump tariffs were going to make that harder for that to come in. But fortunately, the company was really awesome when I contacted them. They talked to me, they got back to me, they reassured me, and that helped me feel a lot more trust in that company. That they weren't just going to completely ghost me and not get back to me after I had placed this rather large order with a lot of dollars at stake. So lithium orotate is one of the foundational supplements that if I didn't have it, I would probably be in pretty rough shape. So it was good to know that I will probably have that again in the foreseeable future. And I did switch to a different brand from a company called Age Immune, and so far the results from the Age Immune supplement have been good. I was concerned about that because with supplements, anything in it could upset the delicate balance that I've worked for years to create. Anything from the way the capsule's made, what's in the capsule, what additives are mixed with the powder that's inside the capsule. It just all has to be just right. Like, think Breaking Bad, Walter and oh boy, I've got to remember this. Jesse Pinkman, yeah, think Walter and Jesse Pinkman in their trailer cooking up their concoction of their special product. So my special product has to be the same to help basically stop my brain cells from dying off at a rapid rate. So whatever memory function and higher brain functions I have, particularly in the hippocampus, would be thanks to the lithium orotate, preventing that from just dying off. And it also helps stop my prefrontal cortex from firing too much. A prefrontal cortex that's overly active tends to contribute to a heightened state of anxiety and alertness. So those calming brain chemicals that originate more in the back part of the brain versus not here in the front. This is the prefrontal cortex. But those calming chemicals that originate here in the back and that contribute to higher brain functions like intelligence and problem solving. I'm doing my best to preserve and protect those. So I'm trying to get at least 2 hours of sunlight a day. It's more challenging than it sounds. The sunlight has a huge impact on my mood. It helps improve my mood, and it increases my ability to sleep well. I have been reading a lot of books with my kids, and I have been reading some books for myself too. I'm going to reread The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is a favorite. And I'm looking forward to seeing the movie Wicked 2. I saw Wicked 1 last fall, and Wicked 2 will be out. Now, the best song in Wicked was Defying Gravity. Cynthia Erivo did a wonderful job in that song, and Ariana Grande did an amazing job too. So, I haven't watched the musical other than the movie, so I don't know what songs are going to be coming up in Wicked 2, but I'll be looking forward to that. And how have you all been feeling? Do you have any new things to share, or any questions about the supplements I take, or anything to add to this conversation? If you leave a comment down below, I will read it. and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.